Turbofurnace Day 3. We just got back from the Park Rose hardware store and we found a bunch more fittings for the T-junction that we're going to need to do the oil pump return, and somehow spent another 50 bucks on that, bringing the total to $200 on fittings. Morale's a little low, the dog's a little tired, so we're just going to go for a first down right now, which is getting the oil pump working. And hopefully see oil go through the turbo, and also return back to the bucket without installing the pump and still getting oil through the turbo. So if we can do that, we're going to be doing pretty good. And then Vincent's going to get started on doing the 90-degree angle for the intake pipe and get that welded into the propane tank, and then we're just really hoping we're going to get it working today. Alright, so Vincent kind of made some cuts here. This is the 22.5-degree angle trick. He did a bunch of math and figured out this is all just going to fit right together. Yeah, alright. That's looking pretty good. Alright, so we got the 90-degree angle welded up into the intake pipe. It's looking pretty fine. I think this is a first down for sure. I think once we get a burrito in us, morale will improve. We've got our oil loop rigged up with a return in it now. This is what we went down to Park Rose and spent 50 bucks on, is this fitting, and this T, and this fitting, and this little valve, and this fitting, and this hose. And I just went ahead and wired it up with the battery, and we got this little switch as well. So that is officially doing stuff. This line is sucking up the oil. This is our return line. This is the oil coming out of the turbo. And then we can kind of adjust the amount of pressure. Just test fitted the turbo and the pipe, and we just made a little outline in Sharpie on here, and we're gonna somehow figure out how to cut it. Good. Pretty creative. Bam. There it will sit.
Often takes longer to set up for the cut
Yeah.
than it does to make the cut.
Yeah.
So in this case, it depends on how many times we have to put the chuck back on. Rigid.
It's fine. Well taken. Alright, there's number one. Alright, it's done.
It's done. Easy.
The chuck only fell off like 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
No problem.
Easy mile.
It's good.
Yeah, it's great.
Nice bodge. I like this like little bit of wood.
Yeah, oh yeah.
With
It's
this.
it's
totally
a
stable.
fixture.
Fixture. Good. Good language. Alright, so we just got some paint ground off the side here. Nice welding surface. Actually super happy with where this hole ended up. Yeah, that's gonna look really nice when it's done. Already looking pretty great. Alright, so we got that welded on there. It looks pretty good. Looks okay. Alright, let's turn it on. It's wired up. Let's go. The burn chamber and all the piping is done and welded up, and I'm just gonna rinse it out real quick with some water because there's probably a lot of metal filings in it, and it would be cool to not have those inside the furnace for the first run. Maybe we can prevent the turbo from sucking some of that up. So we got the turbo bolted on there, all tightened down, it's ready to go, and then now we just got to connect all the peripherals to it, and then I think we're just gonna burn it over here. Vincent's kind of setting up a janky table so that we can put all the battery and whatever on it. And it's raining pretty hard, but that's probably not going to stop anything, right? So we basically got it set up. We got the garden hose going in here for the cooling. It's just going to run straight out the other side onto the ground. And then for the oil reservoir, we got our pickup tube. It's this blue one. It comes around into the pump here. This is our bypass tube that just goes straight back. And then this is into the turbo. And then it comes back around through this tube right here, and then just drips back in there. We just got this little super janky switch and a 12-volt lead acid battery to run this pump on. Jokes, Vincent's got the boss watt out, and it plugs into the wall, and it also does 12 volts and probably like 1,000,000 amps. I think we're gonna do that, and then we should have plenty of juice to keep this thing running more or less all night. It's the boss watt after all. We're gonna try and start it with the shop vac. Vincent bodged together this little attachment here. We're just going to put that on the intake. stoke a fire in there and just hopefully it'll start going. Fire down slow. Alright, those are up.
Boost leak.
That's not going to produce any boost at all. I think it was about to. No, it's not going to produce any boost. Okay. Well, let's give it a second here. Sure about that, bud? I think we might be getting there. Speeding up! Well, we got thermodynamics going. Definitely under pressure. Wiggling. No, it's not sealed. Okay, so we have to give up. Yeah, that is wood gas for sure. Danger, Will Robinson, danger! Our spring is breathing. Alright, so that didn't work out so good. But basically what we think the problem is that the seal was just not really good enough on the turbo furnace and it was losing a lot of pressure. It wanted to spool. So what we're going to do next is we're going to get the piece of plate steel that we cut off of the tank there, and we are going to basically just like weld a little tab on the long dimension here so that that plate steel is just going to sit right on there. Even with all this hot ash, we're just going to go ahead and do this. I think it's probably going to be fine. And then we'll snap the lid over and then probably through bolt it or something like that, and then like maybe that'll help develop a better seal and we'll actually get it to spool. Alright, fire gasket adhesive. What does it say? Let stand for 12 hours, then fire the appliance. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Okay, so I got the fire rope and the fire adhesive on the little piece that we cut out of the propane tank, and we're just going to try and smash that in there somehow. Vincent's over here with a pair of jumper cables trying to weld on the turbo furnace while it sits in place while it's also on fire so that we don't have to move it while it's on fire. It's going to be fine. Okay, so trying to get the adhesive to stick onto the plate didn't really work, and there wasn't really enough clearance anyway, but what we did was just through bolted the piece that we cut off of the tank onto the door that we made, and it does actually make a pretty good seal in there when we were just laying it up. So we're just gonna kind of hope for the best. We got laid up the gasket on there. It's really not glued, but we'll see what happens. We're gonna try and spool it now. Alright, stand back. Yeah, it's definitely not seated. I can see the flames coming at me. Try again. There we go. There we go. Rolling. Spooling. We got air glowing. Woo! That's the paint.
all glowing, cherry red.
Yeah, that was the turbo blade.
So, alright, so turbo's too big. Chamber's too small.
No, if we had good, if it was sealed, it would be fine.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah.
Okay, how do we seal it?
I don't know. I think we're out of ideas for today. I think if we had an air compressor ripping through here at 120 psi, we'd be there.
Yeah. Alright, we need an air compressor.
Alright, what up guys? I just wanted to give a quick recap on what happened in this video. Basically what happened was we couldn't get the turbo furnace to spool up and be self-sustaining. And what we think the problem was with that comes down to two things. One is that the door was just not making a good seal. A lot of the hot gases were escaping around the door, and that was just like prohibiting us from getting any kind of boost pressure, any kind of chamber pressure in there. And secondly, we just were using the shop vac to try and spool it, and I think that we just couldn't get the turbines spinning fast enough. Like if we would have had an air compressor, we could have hit that thing down with some pretty high pressure and got the turbine to actually be going at a pretty high rate of speed, which would essentially, it would be energized at that point. And I think it would have had, even with our leaky door, like enough kind of kinetic energy in it already that it would still be able to like pressurize the chamber, and even with the pressure losses, there would still be enough excess pressure to kind of keep the turbine spooled up, so that it would be a self-sustaining reaction. But obviously we didn't get that. We kind of just had both those problems, so we're going to take a little bit of time off from the turbo furnace because I think we're just getting a little burnt out or frustrated or something with it. And we're going to come up with an idea of how we can make a better pressure vessel door out of what we're doing. And then I'm also going to buy an air compressor so that the next time we get that thing set up and get it stoked, it should work. And if not, you know, we'll just kind of have to go back to the drawing board again, I guess, you know. So I'm pretty stoked on it. I've still got pretty high hopes that we're going to get the turbo furnace running, because if we don't, that's going to be pretty pathetic, because we know it's possible. It's just a matter of getting everything right.